Go.
Hello and welcome today to Cancer Book Club for March 19th. Today's book is the amazing, astonishing, fantastic, I don't want to call it a visual, a graphic novel because it's more of a visual art book, and we can talk to the author about the importance of that distinction, but it's the book Not in the Pink by multiple award-winning author and artist Tina Martel. And Tina's with us here today to talk about her book and her experience. What you're seeing in front of you, if you've joined us, you'll be able to see some of the images from this incredible work of art. So I have a series of questions that I'll be putting out there for us to talk about, but mostly what I'd like to do is to talk about the images themselves. I know some of the people who've joined us today are themselves artists and therefore will come at this discussion with a unique perspective, but some of us are cancer survivors, and so we also have our own visceral reactions to some of what we're looking at. So I guess before we get going, I'd just like to ask Tina some questions. And my first question for you, Tina, is when did you know that your cancer experience needed to become a book?
No, I'm still not sure I know. But how it unfolded was, that was never my intention at the time. It was simply that I was out of my studio in treatment, and I was traveling back and forth out of the city where I live in. And what I was really wanted to do was not quit my art practice. So I had sketchbooks with me. And I had this very romantic kind of notion that I would be able to be going through treatments with my IV in one arm and my sketchbook in the other. And, you know, that's absolutely impossible to do. Like, there's just no way you could do that. But when I was home, I was working, I was working on my sketchbooks, and I was writing at the same time, but I was writing more for my friends. I found, and I'm sure a lot of you who are survivors know, that it's exhausting having the same conversation over and over again.
Yes.
Every day. You're telling people the same thing, and yeah, this is what happened today. So I decided what I would do was do an email. And so I started a little email kind of blog thing for myself, and I had a list that I sent it to, and about every 3 weeks or so, when I started getting more calls, and I would send this letter out. So somewhere between doing the sketchbook and writing the emails, a friend of mine who is an author suggested to me that I might want to put them together. And I said, no, I'm not a writer. I can't do that. And she really encouraged me. She said, she was actually my English teacher when I went to art school. And she was amazing. And I wouldn't have done it without her encouragement. But she said to me, no, she said, put them together. So I was diagnosed in 2011, and the book came out in 2014. So that's how long it took me to figure out that that's what I was going to do. And I waffled. I'd start and I'd stop, and I'd start and I'd stop, and I'd go, man, nobody wants me for this. And, all the usual things that authors go through, right? Although I still call myself an artist who accidentally wrote a book.
I like it. Damn it, Jim. At the end it says, damn it, Jim, I'm an artist, not a writer.
Yeah, not an author.
Do you have a headset by any chance?
Me?
Yeah, or some earbuds like from a phone?
I do not.
Okay, just it would just give us a little bit better clarity, but that's okay.
Okay, sorry about that. If I'd known a little while ago, I could have slipped into the studio and maybe grabbed. There might be some there. I don't think so, though.
No, the sound seems to be settling down.
Okay, good. Yeah, I could hear an echo at the beginning, but it seems to be okay.
My next question is, how did you balance the emotional distance required to create this work with the emotional experience of reliving your cancer while creating?
That would happen down too, I think there's a little bit of a myth about how artists create work, that we always create work in this incredibly emotional state, right? And that's how we make work. And that's not really a reality. It may come from an emotion, but to sustain that emotion during the actual, get down and dirty work kind of thing, you can't do it. It's not possible. So what I did try very hard to do was pull myself back a little bit and say, okay, I can't be emotional about this right now. I'm telling my story because I think that people need to hear or would like to hear what I have to say. So, and even now it still hits me once in a while when I'm reading. Most of the time I'm fine and I'm very calm about it. And then every once in a while I'll read a passage at one of my readings, and I'll think, I'm going to cry. I can't cry right now. This is not good. So yeah, it comes and goes even now. But I think one of the things too that sort of speaks to the emotional side of it is people often ask me if it was therapeutic, right? And no, if I wanted therapy, I'd sit on a beach with my girlfriends in Mexico and drink tequila. I mean, any author will tell you that, right? That writing a book is not therapy. Yeah. And doing this was not really art therapy. It was just what it needed to look like. Yeah.
Yes, I can relate to a lot of that.
I know you can.
I am, for those of you who are joining us and watching on the Anti-Cancer Club website, there is videos of interviews that Tina's done and work she's done. And one of them it was a CBC interview. You comment on how this book is a reaction to the pink messaging that surrounds breast cancer. I'm hoping you can tell us more about that.
That's a real can of little pink worms, isn't it? Yes, I just felt when I was going through treatment that, I mean, I'm a reader, and I wanted to read as much as I could because I wanted to be as informed as I possibly could. And one of the things that I kept finding, now I've found it's changed a little bit in the last few years, but every book I picked up was either completely inspirational and rah, this is great. And it was about being pink and being positive and being all of those things. And I thought, oh my God, if I have to read one more of these things, I'll shoot myself. Never mind. Never mind waiting for the cancer to get me because I can't take it anymore. And the other kind seemed to be very much a how-to book, and I didn't really know how to do it because I'd only at that point done it once. So, I mean, I was no expert. So I kind of felt like I wanted to write something that spoke to people in a more real kind of way, that it wasn't about being pink and being positive, and it wasn't about these are the things that you need to do in order to survive this, because I don't really know. But I wanted something that was very real and very about the emotions behind it. And I think for the pink thing for me was always problematic. I feel like we're kind of being pushed into the chute, right? Everybody has to fit into this little pink chute. And you got cancer because you weren't positive enough, and you stayed sick because you weren't positive enough. And, this was going to fix everything. And you were supposed to be running around telling everybody I'm great and dancing into chemotherapy. And I just thought, oh, screw that. I can't do that. It's ridiculous. I've never heard anything stupider in my life. So, I have no problem. It got us to a place where we needed to be, in the sense that it did raise awareness. But then I think it got off on this really strange track where, it just became about the color, and it became about being positive, and it became, I don't know if it made people feel useful. I don't know. Anyway, I just thought, when it was suggested to me, and I have to admit that Not in the Pink was not my suggestion for a title. It was said sort of in passing by a friend of mine. I thought, I love it, because there was nothing pink or fluffy or pretty or positive about having cancer.
And I noticed that in this book, there's a very different color palette used, not pink.
No, it's very much not pink. Although I have to admit, I do play with the pink a little bit on a couple of the pages, and my business cards have very, very brilliant pink on one side.
But I guess that's part of the sardonic part.
Sure,
And I guess that's a whole aspect of the whole book I'd like to talk about and to celebrate, is the scathing, scintillating, insouciant humor of it, despite the grimness of some of the images. So it's really, and we'll look at the images and talk about them in a minute, but I guess it was that sort of irreverent look at the whole
my
culture.
my family is pretty irreverent. So yeah, I always kind of look at it like it's laugh or cry, and sometimes you do both at the same time. And isn't that what life is? You laugh, you cry, you get mad, you get, you get hurt. It's all of those things. It's never one. So I just wanted to talk about it in those terms.
So maybe what I'll do, I have some images. I just picked, 10 images from the book, but there are so many images for those of you who haven't read it. It spans these images span all ranges of emotion from the humor. There's one of about a marching socks that are extremely funny, the lost socks from the after surgery. I remember just laughing out loud when I saw that one, and to others that are very grim and very sad and very, very poignant and touching. So I'm and even this one that we're looking at now, this is from the diagnosis portion of the book where Tina's learned about her diagnosis, and I see, she's been given the card. Here's the card you've been dealt, like the other survivors. And then, can you tell us about the rabbit?
Well, actually, the bunny was actually originally a photograph, and that was a last minute change. It's funny you focused on that, because that got changed the night before I sent it to the printers. I was looking at the proofs, and I went, I don't like that photograph of the rabbit. So I drew him. I sat down, and a couple of hours later, I drew the rabbit, and I like that whole, in the headlights sort of.
Yes.
Oh my God, like, I don't know what just happened or what's going to happen.
Yeah, and how alert he is, right?
Yeah.
And the cars implying, I'm just putting my own projection on it, but like a journey, a big journey about to happen.
Or he's about to get flattened on the road.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That too.
However you want to look at it. Yeah. But that's very true. Yeah.
We have some sound interference coming from elsewhere. I'm not sure if...
Robin, are you co-host?
No, I'm not. So I don't know how to...
Okay. It's Pat's background noise.
Okay. Well, it's sort of subdued, so we can move on. Just want to go back to that previous image. Let me just go back to the image we had. Yeah.
I liked this one. The glow sign, that just is a perfect image to express, how glaring it is when you find out, and then hurry up and wait.
Yeah. Yeah, it very much is. And how many times do you hear that in this? No, sorry, you have to wait. You have to wait for your tests. You have to wait for the results. You have to wait. No, we're not sure. We're just going to have to wait. And it does become this massive glowing neon sign in your mind that's flashing all the time. That's going, wait, hurry up,
yes.
wait.
Right, and you close your eyes at night, and it's like, wait. I really enjoyed that image.
I even sort of felt this one with my heart, right? Like the heart, like it kind of like the luminous aspect of it is because it just is something that gets emblazoned into you, and it just sears you. It sears you like this image sears you, that you have to wait, and you can't know, you can't have certainty around this dreadful thing you're undergoing.
There was a little bit of a play in the radiation too, because I make a comment later on in the book about how I think I've become my own nightlight.
Nightlight, yeah.
Like you're sunning yourself at Chernobyl.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So that was a little bit of a thing towards radiation too, because I really did feel like when I turned off the lights, I'd had so much radiation between the the treatments and the dye they inject you with, and then the constant X-rays and all of those things. That you're thinking, if the disease doesn't kill me, all this radiation is probably going to. So so there was a little bit of that too, that I wanted that. Just that searing. Searing's a great word, actually.
Yeah, that's. Let me if I bring on the next one here. Let's see. So the image of the person in the garbage can having a bad day. I mean, I don't know how many survivors there are listening to this, but how many people can really relate to, I'm in the garbage can having a bad day today.
Yeah, I've been so many times you do feel like you've been kind of tossed there. Like it's just, that's what's left of you, and you've been tossed out. And, yeah.
And I don't know if I can find that image in the book to show folks, but it's a recurrent image that'll find in various sort of floating around. So the image of it floating around, like the bad day can float around and land on you anytime. And that also being part of the very real, yeah, here it is. I don't know if everybody can see it. Sort of like more than one, repeating the image of the bad day and the garbage can days.
The other thing too that that for me, this particularly, I was brought up Catholic, and I know some of my friends that are listening in or brought up in the same convent that I was. And this is, by the way, what you get when you send your daughter to a convent. It's not a good set. Pull them out. Pull them out now while it's not too late. But I always say I'm a lapsed Catholic. But the prayer that's on there was, I was very much serious when I said that yeah, because boy, that was one I used a lot when I was a kid, and it just seemed to fit in this particular circumstance. Yeah, here I am again, please.
I think everyone everyone has said a version of this prayer of some kind when regardless wherever they are on the spiritual spectrums, everyone's prayed this when you have cancer.
Yeah.
I really like to talk about this image here too, and particularly the words, because I think it's been getting back to this issue of what I've called it, the tyranny of the positive, as a theme that lies throughout the whole book. That message that you were referring to earlier about you gotta be positive or you're gonna die, and the sort of relentlessness of that message and the sort of fake cheeriness of that message, and how when you're the sufferer, it doesn't feel it feels not at all cheery. And look at this palette here. It's not pink. There's a pink outline, but it's not. Anyway, I just wondered if you wanted to speak to this image too.
Sure. Because honestly, yeah, like I said, the tyranny of positivity. Yeah, I mean that actually is a perfect description of it, because you feel you're kind of damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. And I mean, in the book, I also addressed at some point all the things that I should have done that have gotten me here, that I should never have, that I should have, and with all due respect to our Christian viewers, that I should have found Jesus. I didn't actually know he was missing, but,
Or I shouldn't have had that apple in grade 7 that might have been poisoned.
Yeah, exactly. And that I should be eating this food, but not this food. And I should be eating a vegan, vegetarian, I believe at one point I refer to it as a nothing that casts a shadow diet. I think all of those things kind of fit together. And I don't know if the positivity works for the people that are around you, because they never have to really address the fact of what's happening. If you are chronically cheerful and you are chronically saying, no, everything is okay, it's good, it's fine, I'm going to make it. Well, I don't know any of those things, and it's not good, and it's not fine, and some days it sucks, and some days it's better. And how do you stuff all that emotion down and not deal with it, which can't be healthy? I don't think that environment is a healthy one for us. Being forced to do that all the time, being positive.
So what I see in this image, I see all of those thoughts sort of coming out of the head, but this particular angle of the head is a very vulnerable one too. It's sort of like it's almost like a child. You want someone to touch it like a child's head. So that the idea of having all those feelings and having them almost want to burst forth or come out of a state of vulnerability, I thought was very conveyed in this one. I just want to make sure if anybody else has something to say about these images.
Please, yeah. And excuse me.
What would be your answer to that question? Are those two things the same?
Being positive and being stubborn? You know what? I don't know. I honestly, I don't know how to answer. For me, that was the best I could do. I couldn't be positive, but damn, I could be stubborn, because I'm really good at that. So I thought, well, if I'm stubborn enough to say I'm not dying, does that make me positive that I'm not going to die?
It certainly speaks to fortitude.
It makes you resolute.
Yes, resolute. You're resolute. That's actually, again, a really good word. Resolute more than positive. I don't know. I kind of got to the point where I really, really hated hearing the sound of that. You know, I'm positive. I'm positive. We're just going to stay positive. We're going to make it through this if we're positive. A friend of mine says, and quite frequently, and it's really, really a devastating remark, but what she says is the cemetery is full of dead positive people. And, you know, there is something very moving and very troubling about that, because it's true. I know people, I've lost people that were positive. I've lost people that were negative. I've lost, you know, yeah, it's a disease. So
I remember actually feeling sick to my stomach at hearing the word positive through the whole cancer thing, just because I have that same pushback on it and just this revulsion. And like yourself, I'd seen a lot of people, the bravest, strongest people, you know, not make it past whatever.
Even the pressure, like you use the words brave and strong, you know, so does that mean if I lose my battle, I wasn't strong enough?
Right,
you know?
right.
And I think that that's putting cancer patients in a very not a good position, because again, we feel all this guilt anyway for everything that's had to change around us, and now we're doubly on the hook for not being positive enough.
Well, and it's very judgmental. And how dare anybody judge somebody in this situation?
It's yeah. If you haven't been there, and you know what, even if you have been there, there's different degrees of you know what people are dealing with.
Yeah.
And exactly, how dare anybody judge how we're handling it? So, and I know it certainly changed my mind. I know I was always a little bit, you know, I can't say I was ever really in favor of this whole pink culture, but I was fairly indifferent. I thought if it accomplishes what it needs to accomplish, then that's a good thing. But I think now we need to have a little reality check. Look at how many people are being diagnosed. And if it were strictly a mindset, I'm thinking that, you know, where does that put a 6-month-old child? Where does that,
Yes.
you know, I can't, the two things don't reconcile for me. They don't.
No, I think having a positive attitude isn't so much for the person that needs to have the attitude. It's like for everyone else around them.
Yeah.
And that's what the whole pink culture is too. Like, it's not really for the people with cancer. It's for the people around them to like say, hey, I'm supporting you or whatever, which is actually not that helpful.
No, I think it's a burden actually for the patient. I think cancer is very difficult, and to have these pink expectations forced upon everybody just makes it more convoluted and more difficult. Because I think that if anything, you need some brutal honesty, which isn't always very pretty, and it may not be what people want to hear, but it's the only way you grow through the experience, I think. And I think this pink culture disrupts communication, and it disrupts empathy.
Well, the pink culture is basically like just sliding on rose-colored glasses on everyone.
Well said.
Very well said.
This next image I have up here is the dragon. This is a dragon that I believe, Tina, came to you in a dream. You had a dream about this dragon and you describe it, but it's just the power of it and the. I had the same sort of thing. I had a nightmare of super powerful creatures as well during my own cancer journey. So I just wanted to reflect on this. So this is superhuman. It's supernatural. It's huge. It's scary. But these sort of bands of color that keep it constrained.
Actually, like, hey, you got it. Thank you, Robin. But it's true. It is constrained behind this kind of flimsy barrier that could just snap at any minute. And is it going to see me? And I remember the dream because I was laying on the floor, under a table and seeing this thing cruise by me and thinking, don't turn, don't breathe. Maybe it'll just pass me by.
And there's almost an element of a window here too. Are you looking to the past, to the future, to the present? There's that sense of time, I think, in this painting as well.
Yeah, I have to think about that one. Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes our intention when we do things, sometimes, and I remember having this long conversation with one of my instructors when I was going to art school, and we were having this incredible discussion about how literature and art corresponded, and there was all these political, social context for it. And then all of a sudden he leaned over and he says to me, "I like the purple one." Okay, I mean, it really doesn't get any better than that, because sometimes that's just what we do is, it needs purple.
Well, and this image is very primal too, right? It's a primal fear. We're all afraid of monsters. This is the ultimate monster.
And I make reference to monsters 2 or 3 times in the book. At the very beginning, when I say I've been diagnosed, I say that I did as a young child. I lived for years in fear of the monster that lived in my closet. And I think I make reference to the point that the monster moves out from my closet and is now on my bed where I can see it.
Yeah.
And that I always knew monsters were real. So there is, and it is a monstrous thing, and it can be out of control, and it does seem to feel like, it's taking people out. And what are we doing? What are we doing about it? And what can we do about it? And it's big, it's huge, and scary.
Move to the next one. I'm so glad we got to this. I love for readers. I should tell you that the motif of boots is throughout the whole book. There's even in they can have the most macabre, dark, bleak picture, and then there's these little insouciant boots that walk across the page. And to me, spoke. I remember reading the part where you were the doctor is saying you're going to have to wear compression stockings, and you're saying, but compression stockings that don't go with these. And I think you had illustrated boots that were like this. So to me, these boots speak to the pre-cancer identity, the unique identity that's still there, that's still alive, that's still marching on despite all the other things going on the page. So that was what I'm throwing out my interpretation. Whatever others thought.
It's as fair as any of them, because I know anyone who knows me does know that I am a shoe person. And I own tons of boots, and I love my boots, and they make me feel better. And slipping on a pair of stiletto leopard boots to go to a doctor's appointment seemed like if not an appropriate thing to do, at least something that I could I maybe a little bit of defiance. I can walk.
Putting on your war paint.
Putting on my war paint. Yeah, absolutely.
Also keep walking, keep moving.
Keep moving. Don't let it stop. Yeah. Now, all of those things, I think, in the metaphor for footwear. And and then I mean, come on, I'm a girl. I like boots.
And the thing with the boots with you too is, like, as a student being in the studio, we were like waiting, and then when you hear thump 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 thump, here comes Tina. It's just like, look busy. Oh my God. So I always kind of got the vibe off the boots when I was reading the book. It's just like, look out, Cancer. Like, here comes Tina.
That's too funny.
So anytime I saw the boots in the book, I was like,
I'll have to learn to walk quieter in the studio, I guess.
No, it's good because it lets them prepare and look busy. So.
Oh, okay. And look busy. Okay. Yeah.
I love the boots, and the boots. There's many different types of boots throughout. These ones are among the most colorful, but there's all kinds of other ones that are all over the place, and on all the various phase pages too, with the diagnosis page and the chemotherapy page. And as you introduce each section of treatment, there's boots somehow managed to.
And actually, is there a particular symbolism to the silver boots?
Oh no, it's just those are my studio boots. Those are I when I'm in the studio, I wear these crazy pair of silver cowboy boots. Okay. And so for me, it was almost a comfort level. Those are my studio boots. This is when I'm my happiest, when I'm in the studio and I'm got my silver cowboy boots on. I'm comfy and I'm happy. So yeah, that was the only thing. They're kind of a somebody else's version of sneakers, I guess. I don't know. How to answer that one.
And here was one. I think this is from earlier on in the journey, and I think this is where you're in the hospital and they're giving you a series of IVs, and the idea of the zipper, your zipper's open, and then you can sort of the eyes, we're talking about vision and insight. This new world is opening up, or this world you don't want to see is opening up you have a window into it. So I guess that was my take. Any others? Any other folks?
Hiding from the experience, if at all possible.
Yeah, or just, I think sometimes too that we have to be able to, how do I put this? Sometimes we can't see the whole thing all at once because it's too overwhelming. But if we're looking at something through, it seems smaller and you're more capable of handling it. And I think there's a little bit of that. Like, I'm just going to open the zipper a little bit and peek through and see, okay, no, I don't want that. Okay, I changed my mind. All right, and now I'm done. But yeah, I think all of those things are probably really true. That yeah.
And this would be early in the journey because you still have your hair in this.
Yes, I still have my hair. Yeah, I do. It never really grew back, so I'm caught with this, and I mean, it is what it is, right? It's easy to. I didn't know I wasted so much money on shampoo for sure. Apparently, I did. Apparently, it wasn't necessary. So yes, I still did, but. Yeah, I think the metaphor for the zipper, and then zippers get stuck too,
Yes.
They can't be opened or closed, they need to be removed, and there was all kinds of things. Plus I own a lot of boots that have zippers in them.
Back to the boots.
I can only get so deep, for so long, and then it's just like, I don't know, maybe.
Throughout the book, there's many, many images of raptor birds, owls, eagles, and they have this stare like these ones do. And there's another one that I also liked with sort of an owl right up close staring. Yeah. So to me, I can speak to what it meant to me. To me, it was just sort of the stare of cancer. You're being stared down by this horrible primitive thing. So not the wild rampaging dragon, but like, I'm the stealthy, silent, powerful killer that these birds are. So to me, it was just, it gave me it was the chilling way that you feel when you're confronting with this really huge, horrendous disease and horrendous treatment, and just how it can just sort of watch and wait for you too.
I think the birds too, for me, like birds have that very cold gaze.
Yes, cool.
You don't look into a bird's eyes and think like you do when you look into your dog's eyes, and they're all warm and brown, and you can see that it's really happy. And birds just kind of have this look that there's little expression. I won't say no, because I've actually had a couple of birds, and they can be real characters. But particularly birds of prey, I think they do have that very cold, stealthy. This is it, and quiet. When you talked about coming in from above, there's something too about that silent death, right? I mean, that's how birds hunt. They don't make noise. They just hit you. You're the mouse in the field, and all of a sudden you're lunch.
There's something almost unworldly to me about the birds. And you also have a number of images with wings, bird-like or angel wings. Is there any correlation with the birds?
Well, I think maybe was for me a symbol of the possibility of death, right? Because angel wings, right? Mm-hmm. But there's also, along with the angel wings, they say everybody has a guardian angel, and I kind of like the idea that maybe it wasn't always just a negative thing. Maybe there was something to it, and and I've had a few experiences in my life where I felt like I've been saved by an angel. So it was, again, just something that tied in with the birds, but had a different connotation in the sense that it could be something very light and very light filled and very bright, right? So if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. The images are just so stunning. I will read this book several times, and I think every time I see it, I'll see something else.
Thank you. I've had a lot of people tell me that, and that really makes me feel fantastic that I can reach so many people. And I think for me too, that one of the things that was unexpected, I wrote for the cancer patient, but I think what ended up happening is that a lot of families read it, and a lot of, I can't tell you how many moms or grandparents or sisters said, my sister never told me any of that.
That's right.
She didn't tell me that. And I thought, well, no, and they probably never will. And then there were things that I left out because I just thought, okay, well, there were things that happened sometimes that really hurt me. And I thought, well, sometimes people don't realize what they've done, and there was no sense in hurting people by pointing it out. I think I did a good enough job in pointing out some of those things that happened, that it didn't have to be all about that. But it's if that answered the question.
Getting back to the bird imagery for a second,
Mm-hmm.
whenever I saw them in the book, it kind of made me think of more like the reality of what the cancer was. Because like the dragon being this big thing in your dream, and it's just sort of this distant reality of possibility of something that could be, I think the bird represents that exact same thing, but it's more grounded. Like it's present. You've seen eagles go, oh, this is part of my life now, and it's not so detached from you like some kind of make-believe cancer dragon,
Well, dragons are hot and red, and these eagles are cool and like gray, white, and cold, like that, as you say. It's a cold but equally scary image around.
I think part of me too with the birds, one of the things I kind of liked about it was, it's a bald eagle, right? So,
There's the bald part too.
yeah, so there was sort of a little nod to the whole bald thing. Same with the vulture, because I use a vulture several times, and vultures are very bald. So I thought, okay, well, yeah, I was feeling a little sleek.
All right, let me take it to the next one. Okay, here's the image from the front cover of the book. Why did you choose this as your cover?
Well, again, I didn't want it to be your standard, somebody walking off into the sunset, the cliches that we use. I didn't want flowers. I didn't want bright colors. I didn't, and I thought this one was actually just kind of, it was very much how I felt, because it changes your body image so much. And I'm sure no matter what kind of cancer you have, that happens. I think it particularly happens with breast cancer because as a society, we're so geared towards sexualizing women, and breasts being a big part of that, right? And I very much felt like I was hiding and didn't really want to hide, but wasn't really sure who I was anymore. And I thought, well, if I did it this way, and actually if this image is kind of interesting because it's the same image reversed. It's
yes,
not,
I was just going to ask about that, the reflexiveness.
it's not actually two hands on my chest. It's actually one hand on my chest and flipped over.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a little ironic in the sense that I did end up being diagnosed again in the other breast. So I've actually had it right and left now. So, the image now, when I look at it, I kind of shake my head and go, there's a little thing you didn't know about. I don't know. Anyway, but
your reference to having it in the right and left, is that a reference back to your comments that you declined the oncotype and that you later regretted that?
Oh, yes, it definitely was, because I would not have done chemo. It became very obvious when I was diagnosed the second time that because tumors only grow so quickly, right? And the size that they were, what it meant was that the chemotherapy did nothing for them. So had I done the Oncotype DX test, which is now covered by insurance in Alberta, thank God, then, perhaps I wouldn't even have, maybe it would have been better. Maybe my immune system would have been higher. I mean, I'm sure, Robin, I'm sure that you do this. You go through everything and think, well, what would have happened if I had only done this, right? And it's very hard not to. I think it's just a human reaction to, could it have gone a different way? So yeah, but that definitely, that Oncotype, if I had one big regret through all of this, it would be the Oncotype. Yeah. test, which tests, for anybody who doesn't know, it does test to see if chemotherapy is useful to you or not. And it's expensive. I mean, in the general scheme of things, with the amount of money we had to spend, it wasn't expensive, and I should have done it. But I think that was just proof that I really didn't need it. So I put my system through that, and it didn't work. So.
One thing I wanted to say about this image is that I'm a psychologist, and some of you are aware of the famous Rorschach ink blots that are sort of these amorphous blobs, but they're just like this. They're reflexive, and the idea is that people look at them and they're supposed to project their personality and thought patterns onto an ambiguous image. And so that's one of the things that struck me about this particular image. And of course, it evokes a whole bunch of things because of that. So that's just my other little piece about reacting to this image, is that it does.
I've done a fair amount of printing in this where I'm actually taking a wet ink and putting it down, and then it creates a kind of a Rorschach ink blot, just like you're talking about. So it is kind of a way that I work, where I like to repeat things, I like to turn them around and change the colors or whatever, but it's still basically the same image.
You could be a psychologist. Here's one of my favorite images in the whole book. This image, which when I read is your husband took this. This is a photograph in part 2, isn't it? Or
yes, it is. Yeah, and it was my last day of radiation. And I was coming out of you can see at the very back there, you can see the doors that I was coming through. And as I'm walking down the hallway, I'm thinking to myself, oh my God. And it just hit me. The further I walked down the hallway towards him, I thought, God, I'm done. And I'm still standing. I'll take it.
Ring that bell.
Ring that bell. Yeah. So so that's where it came from. And that particular day was kind of it was a little odd, to say the least. He came in with me to take photographs while they were doing radiation, and I'm sure that the technician thought we were nuts, because one of the pictures that we took was literally him beside me with the camera snapping this photograph, and like I was the Eiffel Tower and he was standing in front of it. Like it was just this sort of weird tourist aspect. Anyway, the technician said to us, I've never seen, all the years I've been here, ever seen anybody do this before. And we were just going, well, okay, I'm an artist, I don't know what I'm using these images for. And I honestly didn't know what I was going to use those images for. I never in a million years thought it would end up being this. I just wanted the image. So that's what we did. We took pictures that day. So
to me, it also talks, if you know, I know it's an image of a certain day, but to me, it also sort of speaks of the incremental recovery, what incremental recovery means, because you're coming down the hall in increments, and little bits of yay, and I'm coming into the foreground of my own life again after sort of resurfacing from the grueling treatment. So I tweeted this picture out, and I got quite a number of responses, and I said, this is what recovery from cancer feels like, and people responded to that saying, yeah. So there's I think it captures that. It's tiny, they're little steps, but you're getting there.
And by the way, I'm wearing, if you see in the photograph, I'm wearing those silver boots. Those are my silver cowboy studio.
The cowboy boots, I just noticed that, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I'd forgotten. I just looked now because we had that conversation. I thought, oh my God, yeah, I did have those boots on that day, didn't I?
Any other responses from the rest of our folks here today?
Oh, I think there's a sense of time, which is what you were alluding to in this picture. And I really like that, because the sense of time in cancer is a moving target. I mean, you get into this situation and you're hopeful it's going to work. You're in the middle. It's like, is it working? Is it not working? What's going on? You get to the end. It's like, yes. I think I just love the way that the colors of this photos are superimposed, and they get stronger as you go forward against this black and white hospital background. I think that's so terrific.
For me, this one actually really reminds me of a comic book panel, where you'd be some kind of superhero, I guess.
Daredevil!
Which is just sort of a vibe I associate with you always.
Yeah, thank you. I think one of the things for me too was that changing it to half a drawing and half the photograph was really important because it sort of linked these two, this sense of being the real with the unreal, if you will. And and manufacturing your own experience perhaps too, that I was going to draw it. I wasn't just going to just have a simple photograph there. So yeah, there was a lot of things that probably went into it that I probably wasn't even aware of at the time.
See, do I have another image? No, that's come to the end of the PowerPoint of the images. Tina, what is your favorite image from the book?
Oh, geez, you know what? I love the cover. That I think, and that's one of the reasons why I put it on the front. I love that cover. It really spoke to me. I had some misgivings when I did this because it seemed to me it didn't look like anybody else's, and because I self-published this book, I honestly, man, I did not know what I was doing. I'll be right up front. This was the biggest learning curve ever. Knowing now would I do it? Oh, probably I'd do it again because I don't learn really easily. But there is that side of it, and I wanted something that would be intriguing, would be almost have like an element of mystery to it too, that you weren't really sure.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't definite. It wasn't, and I wanted it to be really, really simple. So I think that's where it was. And the image was so easy to do too. Seriously, I did it in front of my computer. I snapped a couple of pictures and then played around with it in Photoshop, which is about all I'm capable of doing, is just playing around with it a little bit. And then I started photo transferring it and painting back into it and doing what I do with my work. But I think that's one of my favorite. But it changes, honestly. It's, sometimes I like some of them more than others. And the ones
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. You go ahead.
What about the fish? The fish intrigued me. I wanted to know about the two-headed fish.
Oh, okay.
Let me actually, Robin, if you want, I'll put some of the pictures up. I have them here too.
Okay, all right. If you can, do you want me to stop sharing and so you can?
Yeah, and
all right,
I'll go ahead and share.
All right, good.
I have to think about it. I think I know which one you mean. I think there was just
now, here are some of the fish.
Oh yes, there's the fish.
To me, because we had this discussion about monsters earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Those are barracuda, aren't they?
I don't remember what they were, to be honest. I just grabbed them out of some book and redrew them, painted them, and again changed them, right? But I think for me, again, it was the coldness of it. And if there were a monster, and I said the monster was on my bed, and I just saw again these things floating over top of my bed. And they were cold, and they had teeth, and they could bite, and they were silent.
These drawings are just have so much depth to them. Are these old drawings? Are they multimedia? Is there actual depth to the individual art pieces that you did?
It's a combination of things, actually. So, like, if we just look at the one that's on the screen right now with the fish, okay, those are actually paintings, okay? And they were paintings that I had done in my sketchbook, which, although I call it a sketchbook, I paint a lot in there. The background was a painting that I had done. And then the front was a drawing that was based on an art historical imagery of a woman. I'm gonna blow this, and I should know this. Laying down, and she has a monster actually sitting on her chest.
Yes, it's a scubus. It's sucking her life out. Yes,
exactly right. So the drawing was based on her, but turned out looking more like me than her, because she was far more voluptuous, and she became much thinner and longer and had short hair. And so what I did then was, my husband actually is a graphic designer. So he had all the skills to put this together. And what I would do is I would go in with a very rough sketch, saying this is what I want it to look like, and these are the elements that I want to go in. And then he would just take it from there. So literally when we did this book, we sat together for almost 9 months, almost every day and every weekend. And we worked on the book. And I could not have done that without that because I don't have those skills. I am not capable of doing that. So although they look like they were created as one image, and some were, there are some that are, like the front cover actually was that is a picture of a painting. And that is a small 12 or 14-inch painting that I did, and it came right out of there. There was absolutely no changes. But for a lot of them, that wasn't the case. We added elements or changed the color or flipped them, so I didn't have to draw one going either way. Like we could just flip it. So, you know, we've never done it without a computer for sure.
The richness of some of these images is just so astonishing. I think you should do an art show, actually.
Other attendees today on Cancer Book Club, what were your favorite images? What images grabbed you?
I'm going to just kind of leaf through as we're talking, because these images are so beautiful. For anybody watching this in the replay mode, I'd love to have them have a sense of what an incredible book this is and what a visual feast this book is.
See, if I look at this one that you're scrolling through right now, that is a very large painting. It is like 5 feet by 3 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just one chunk of it. So, yeah. And then, you know, so some of them were straight out of my work. Some of them were compilations. It was always my work. I think in the whole book, I used one stock image, and that was the drapery and just bought the image so we could use it. And everything else was mine. And then, of course, taking photographs. I also took video while I was doing this. So some of them were video stills, some of them were photographs. Some of them, paintings, drawings, you name it. I always say with my work that I throw in everything but the kitchen sink. And sometimes even that gets thrown in.
Oh, here's one I'd like to talk about.
Yes.
Can you scroll down? I meant to include an image of that. The mannequins.
Yeah.
They're throughout. There's mannequins. There's the idea. There's we often see the body as disconnected. There's arms disconnected from torsos, from heads floating around. There's the whole body. Like the notion of cancer as surreal, as in a surreal. It's especially in the diagnosis part. Oh my God, this is surreal. This is happening, but this is really happening. And also with the body in fragments, as represented by the mannequins. I just wanted to ask you a bit more about the mannequin images. Is there and how you did them, and also others' responses to them.
Well, the mannequin image, I actually have this mannequin in my studio. It's an old dressmaker's mannequin, and I picked it up literally at a garage sale. And I had no idea what I was going to do with it. It'd been sitting in my studio for 2 years, and I kept thinking, I need to draw it or paint it or do something with it. But it didn't really speak to me. And then after I was diagnosed, I remember going downstairs into my studio and thinking, oh my God, that's what I feel like. I feel, and it's old and it's wrecked and it's crumbling and it's coming apart. And I was never going to fix it or clean it up because I thought, oh, well, the poor thing's gone through a lot. So I started painting it. I started drawing it, and I did several large paintings with this as a base, and then I did smaller ones in my sketchbook. It was the disconnect. I was disconnected from my body. I was disconnected from my world, from my head,
I picked up on the disconnect. I think it was Steffi said something that it was almost like a coat of armor as well.
Oh.
Yeah. That's what I saw when I looked at it. I mean, obviously the fragmentation as well, but also armor and perhaps the chink in the armor that allowed, we all just the intrusiveness of the cancer originally. I was fascinated by this image.
I never thought of it as being armor, but I can understand like a breastplate, And chink, the whole thing, the chink in the armor, it's a nice analogy.
Let's read again.
I just love the images, the color, the texture. I just think this is such a wonderful book. So
I have a question. I have a question for readers and viewers and Tina. What do you think was the funniest part of the book? Because the book was scathingly, acerbically funny in places. What struck other readers and viewers as the funniest part?
I know y'all laughed because you told me.
I actually have a hard time answering that question myself because there's so many parts that were were funny. I think I really like the letter from the universe. I like that part about where the I think if I can find it, I'll read it for us about the universe's apology to you.
Yeah, yeah.
We all deserve an apology from the universe.
That I wrote for it because I know
Yes.
you're very busy.
Please insert your name here.
Yeah. What it said was,
Here it is.
Yeah.
The universe would like to take this opportunity to personally and profoundly apologize to, fill in name here, for making him or her feel guilty during his or her recent bout with cancer. It has been determined by a panel of experts that it was in no way, shape, or form your fault. Any inconvenience will be made up to you in the form of good health for the remainder of your life. Now go and eat your cookies. Sincerely, the universe.
I have to tell you I will tell you one of my favorites though, and it's I'm in my bedroom and I am doing yoga, which I tried very hard every day to get at least 10 or 15 minutes of practice in, and it was so difficult, and I was falling over sometimes, and I would just pick myself up and try it again, and and I mean it was just really sad. But I remember reading and I thought, well, I'm gonna give this whole try to be one with the universe thing a try. I mean, what the hell, right? Maybe it'll work. So I thought, it did say, one of the things that I was reading said you should apologize to your body. So I did. I'm in there with my deep yoga breathing, and I'm trying to be calm, and I think this is a good time to apologize to my body. And then I very clearly hear my body say back, "Fuck you." And that one just always so makes me laugh, because that's exactly what I heard in my head. It was just like, no, nah, nope, I'm not forgiving you anytime soon. So, and that one still, when I read it, still makes me laugh, because that was the one that my poor mom was appalled at. And she said, "Honey, you can't say that." And I went, "Yes, I can." So, but that's one of my favorite ones right there, is when the day my body tells me what it thinks.
I have my book here, and I was just flipping through it because I was rereading it, and I found my favorite one again, and it's like just this little conversation with you and Doug and your doctor, because I could just picture it exactly, even though I wasn't there. And it's did you take the knives from her? Yeah. And then I disarmed her before I left the house. I freaking busted a gut laughing at that. Like, it's just, I could just see his face saying it. And I'm just like, you guys.
Yeah.
So that's the one I laughed at probably the most.
Yeah. That's it.
The image that's up now, talk about this a little bit if you would. This one absolutely mesmerized me.
Oh, with the angel wings. Those, first of all, the images with the spine and the bones, those were actually mine. Those were actually x-rays. And I collected all of my medical records. Like I kept everything. I demanded everything be printed out or put on a CD, or I became known as this crazy person that was running around the hospital thing, trying to get their records. And you are entitled to your records. It's just most people don't ask for them, right? And for me, and I don't know if anyone else did this, but I kept every chunk of paper they ever gave me. And I really liked, there was something very moving about the images. So I knew I wanted to do something with them. So, I started deconstructing them and drawing over top of them and adding the angel wings, because I thought, well, bones, I'm getting closer to, closer to death, perhaps. It was a very raw image, these are my insides kind of thing. And the little cap sort of meant that I wasn't going to let anybody see what was going on in my head. So, I've got the cap on and I'm hiding what's going on in there. And again, I just used the repetitive motif, because I just found them a really, really interesting image. But that's where it came from. There's another one that I do with the ravens picking the bones,
Mm-hmm.
and I all the bones cut out from that same X-ray. Oh, and I like the whole idea of white, the white and the black wings. I'd forgotten about that, actually. That, they sort of represented the good days and the bad days, yeah, white hat, black hat kind of thing. But those X-rays really, they were really powerful images, because that's my body. That's what's going on in my body.
Why are the angels wearing colorful, blinding caps?
Well, like I said, that was me just trying to hide my
Oh,
thoughts from the world,
I see.
so that nobody could really, tell what was going on in my head. And because there's lots of things that you never tell people, that the fears, the anxiety, it takes you a long time, if ever, to really be honest about how truly deeply, right through the core of your being, how that changes you.
Mhm.
And I know everybody loves to say, "Oh yes, I became a much better person." I don't know. I don't think I was that bad to start with, so I didn't really think I needed to improve. But I don't know. Maybe I did. But there, I mean, there is that you come out the other side and you're supposed to be a glowing ball of enlightenment. And I thought, I'm not listening. I'm not listening. I'm not listening. Nobody else can tell me, and you can't. You don't know what I'm thinking. I don't know what you're thinking. It's good. Let's just wear the hat. It's like those tinfoil caps to keep the aliens from probing your mind. But.
We're almost at the end of our time here now. I can't believe it's been an hour. It's well, for me, 5:57. So we've only got a few minutes left. But my final question: is there a question, Tina, that you wished people would ask you about this book?
Oh, that is a really tough question. I think I've been asked everything about this book. But I can tell you what I think my favorite question is, that after reading the book, when people say to me, what do I need to say to someone who has cancer? And I think that is a really, really relevant question, because I think it's not about what people tell you. I think it's about listening to you. Don't go in when your friend has been diagnosed with cancer and tell her all the things she should be feeling, and that she's going to make it, and that if she just stays positive and all of these things are going to be fine, and she's brave and she's strong. Why don't you try listening? Why don't you try
Yeah,
listening?
it's never missed the opportunity to shut up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wish people would do that. Like, really, truly listen. What can you do for somebody? What can you bring to them? How can you help them? How can you support them? Because chances are they won't ask.
Wow. I don't know about the rest of you, but I've been very edified and thrilled out of my mind. I've been looking forward to today for a long, long time. And I would be delighted to have another opportunity to talk with Tina further about these images and about this work.
Yeah. And I just want to thank all of you for coming, the people that joined us, even if you were quiet. Thank you for coming, and thank you to Pat and Robin and Steffi and Marion for having me. I really, really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining us. This has just been a wonderful hour. We will have to do it again sometime.
Absolutely. You know how to find me.
I should say that our next Cancer Book Club is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, it's the Healing Circle, which I see over on my bookshelf over there, by Rob Rutledge and Timothy Walker, a collection of true stories integrated with sort of advice on lifestyle, but from a remarkable support people. These providers are part of my own journey and story in the Cancer Olympics in a little bit, so I'm looking forward to that. So any other final comments or words from everybody else as we sign off today? Well, again, thank you, Tina.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Just to say, this will be available on replay. We'll be working out some bugs around our Twitter and fixing that out. It'll be tweeted out on replay, and so you can invite your friends and family to view this discussion, which I think many would find really, really exciting.
Thank you, everybody. This is great.